The breakthrough doesn't have any value without the process. Until the day you die and are taken up to heaven, we will always be working on a struggle or a weakness within ourselves. And this is how we move from glory to glory. Over the last little while, I have been actively working against a particular struggle within myself. And it has been through the process that I have received a revelation of a very interesting aspect of God's grace. He brings multiple healings and revelations through one struggle. I always tell people it's easy to think that we are healed and delivered of something when a lot of time has passed, but a certain situation hasn't happened. But the truth is, we actually need certain situations to happen, and we need to be put into certain positions for it to rise up the unhealed parts of our hearts, giving us the opportunity to respond in the opposite way than what we used to. And that is how we receive our healing. So, as I have been actively working against this struggle in my life, I have found myself on this up and down roller coaster. But it's when I'm on the downs where I receive so much healing and revelation for something that wouldn't have happened had I not been on the low of this struggle. And sometimes I am so tempted to kick myself in the butt, saying, God, when will I ever overcome this big issue in my life? When? But God is so gracious. We cannot even measure his grace. He cares more about your character than anything you could ever bring to this life. More than your ministry, more than your anointing, he cares so much more about your character than anything else. It might be our plan to overcome this big issue in our life, and that's important, don't get me wrong. But God's plan might be, I'm going to bring these 20 healings and revelations amidst this one struggle. And the reason for this is so that when the breakthrough comes, it will be both valuable and lasting. And I guess this is why Apostle Paul was saying that we can glory in our sufferings, as it talks about in Romans 5:3-5. Because not only does it create a character in us, but it brings a hope that doesn't put us to shame. God will meet you where you're at. I understand some struggles are really hard to overcome, extremely hard. Let's take addiction, for example. But God sees the heart. He sees your true intentions, how genuine you are. He sees how much you really want to overcome this situation. And I, through this process, have come to the understanding that if we cannot be saved by our works, then neither can we be destroyed by our works, as long as our hearts are right with him. Let's look at King David, for example. He was a murderer, and not just in war. He killed someone's husband because he wanted to make the woman his wife. But despite all the sin and error in King David's life, God said that he had a perfect heart. And he compares this in 1 Kings 11:4. Now, this does not, by any means, does not excuse our sinful behavior. And we will reap of the things that we sow. However, it means that God is willing to work with us from where we are, because He knows that greater days are ahead. He even says that if I were to tell you all the plans that I had for you, you wouldn't even believe me. You can read that in Habakkuk 1:5. We might not understand His process, but I can guarantee a way of gaining success through it is by gearing your hearts towards the Lord, laying down your own understanding as you try to hear His voice, and being humble enough to submit to whatever it is He has to say. Who knows? You might learn something you never thought you needed to hear. And that's the value in the process. God bless.